So hello everyone, and welcome again to this Thursday night talk at Mountain Cloud. We're sitting in the wake of last week's Why Moo retreat. Even if you couldn't join the retreat, the momentum, the spaciousness is right here. Like Joshu's 100 years of sitting, like Moo, thoroughly here. If you were at the retreat, you may have been carried along in the days since by images, nudges, pointers to this practice and to Moo. Moo sitting, Moo standing, Moo walking. Nothing but Moo. No thing. So here are just a few bits that have stayed with me, mostly from Henry's talks, but also from the exchanges with participants in the Q&As. Henry likened the metamorphosis that can come about in this still sitting to a caterpillar compelled to be still, to become a chrysalis. About the growing equilibrium and equanimity that can come with steady practice, with welcoming whatever comes. Henry offered this instruction: be like a ruminant cow that just chomps its way through the meadow. Wonderful imagery. Sitting like Moo, sitting with Moo, in Moo, like a ruminant cow. And then just comes to mind the image of this quiet sitting with Moo, sitting on the tongue of Godzilla. Just don't know it. Early on, one participant shared in the chat, "Why have I never felt so wealthy before?" The true prosperity of having nothing. The freedom of realizing it's not possible to have anything. Moo is not what you have, it's what you are. So spare, so rich. Nothing but Moo. On the last day of the retreat, near the end of the Q&A, someone posted this question. I heard an online talk where someone said that after Kensho, there is still anger along with other emotions that arise, but not a sense of shame, as there is no self to be ashamed. I don't understand this. Up on chat. It seems that any emotions can arise in anyone at any time, and that the lack of emotions is not a measure of enlightenment. Any comments? Henry invited me to respond, so I did, but I'm not sure how clearly. I resonated with the nuance around shame and other emotions. One way we often hear this is guilt is about what you do, and shame is about what you are. Being bad, flawed, not whole. In this sense, shame is a heavy laden emotion. It bears the burden of, that's who I am. The shift that comes with discovering the reality of who you truly are directly addresses this. It does. In Kensho, whatever it is we thought we were is completely unseated, dissolved. Even a first glimpse, an opening, like a key in the latch. One quality of this shift is that it can bring a profound sense of unconditional love. Not just something you have or give, but what you are, this very body. So when all the old baggage falls away, what happens to emotions? And what about shame? In the Q&A, I said something about how emotions continue to arise, but with more transparency, far less substantial or sticky. And about how this great release into love can bring about a shift in shame. Shame loses its grip. But key to this awake world, nothing is excluded. I think I said something like that, but it was very quick. We went straight away into the last sit, and Henry quietly began guiding. A few words into the stillness, he said the phrase, human frailty. And my heart dissolved. A line came to mind, a comment on the verse from the Mu koan in its Book of Equanimity version. The comment is, without the flaw, there is no jewel. Human frailty. The flaw is the jewel. So I'd like to turn and explore this jewel maybe tonight for a bit with a koan that I spoke about a month ago in a talk that followed our March 4-day retreat. Seems like a theme, the treasure issuing from our shared sitting. So this is case 32 in the Blue Cliff record. Excuse me, 62. It also shows up in the Book of Equanimity, 92, called Unman's One Treasure. The last time I looked at it, we took up Ingo's introduction. So let's just jump right to the case. Here it is. Unman spoke to the assembly saying, between heaven and earth and within the universe, there is a single jewel. It secretly dwells within the mountain of form. It picks up a lantern and goes to the Buddha hall. It takes the temple gate and places it on the lantern. Another translation reads, within heaven and earth, in the midst of the universe, there is one treasure hidden in a body. This is a quote from what's thought to be a 5th century Chinese text. called the Hosoron, a treatise on the treasure chamber of the Dharma. It's by Sheng Zhao or Zhou Hoshi. As the story goes, when Zhou was about to be executed for refusing to recant his vows as a monk, he asked for a 1-week reprieve. And during that week, he composed this text. One treasure hidden in a body. Is it one body? This body? This body? This body? Why hidden? I'm reminded of the story Ryan Roshi tells about sitting at the table with his father when he was a young adolescent. And his father asking, "Where are you? Where are you?" "I'm here, Father." "That's your legs. Where are you?" "I'm here, Father." "That's your arms." Here I am." "That's your head. Where are you?" A single treasure hidden. Hidden because it's so intimate. Invisible because it is your eye. There's another koan that often gets referenced with this one, and it just delights. This is it's Shoyoroku, our Book of Equanimity 52, and an adept says about this treasure, this one treasure, it's like a donkey looking into a well. And the master, it's Master Sozan, he says something like 80%, almost. How would you say it, Master? It's like a well looking into a donkey. This clear reflection. One treasure. One eye. Unman doesn't say how to follow the map and find the treasure, but he does add a comment about how the treasure functions. It picks up a lantern and goes to the Buddha hall. It takes the temple gate and places it on the lantern. It takes the temple gate and places it on the lantern. This single jewel, can clearly do anything, like can light the way to the place of practice. Pick up the lantern and carry it to the hall. And it can upend any sense of fixity about what that place is. In one of his talks at the retreat, Henry likened the way of Mu, this way of Mu, to the wildness of chaos theory. Not just uncertainty, but really don't know. Mu invites us into this kind of wildness, Henry said. And the form of welcome is samadhi, deep absorption, mu meeting mu. Some years ago, I studied chaos theory in a modest way as a model for language. Now, in one of those unpredictable recursions, here's chaos theory coming up as mu. Each word, nothing but mu. The organizing principle of chaos theory, of chaos, is vast connectivity and constant change. No near or far, one gesture and the whole system moves. Lift your arm and Sun Mountain moves. This one treasure. There's no way to hold it in place or predict what's to come. So mobile and mutable, no measure and no way to fall out of it. This is where any theory, no matter how flexible, fails. The treasure in all its dynamism, all its facets, is right here. All of it. It's recursion, but it's this. Pick up the gate. Absolute capacity. Making each thing exactly what it is, just as it is. Another line in Monk Joe's treatise reads, all things and I have one and the same root. One root, one I. How can we see it? I think I said recently, but it came to mind again, that Master Sekito awakened on reading a passage from the Hozaran. And in his Song of the Grass Hut, Sekito writes, turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Can't be faced. Can't face it, can't away from it. Yet here it is. Ah, there's a crow just cawing like crazy here. Here it is. Ah. Lately, I've been keeping company with a stanza from a Mary Oliver poem. It's called In the Beginning, Sweetgrass. Probably familiar to some of you. As a note, Mary Oliver grew up in a troubled home with a sexually abusive father and a neglectful mother. She writes about it. She surely knew something about shame and about the treasure that cannot be the least bit separate from that. Here's her stanza. What I loved in the beginning, I think, was mostly myself. Never mind that I had to, since somebody had to. That was many years ago. Since then, I have gone out from my confinements, though with difficulty. I mean the ones that are thought to rule my heart. I cast them out. I put them on the mush pile. They will be nourishment somehow. Everything is nourishment somehow or another. And I have become the child of the clouds and of hope. I have become the friend of the enemy, whoever that is. I have become older, and cherishing what I have learned, I have become younger. And what do I risk to tell you this, which is all I know? Love yourself, then forget it, then love the world. Love yourself, then forget it, then love the world. This could be a paraphrase of that passage from Dogen's Ginjo Koan, this practice in a nutshell. To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the myriad things. The great forgetting. Henry called it the great leap, the last strand snapping. It sounds fearsome. We fall. Everything falls. And that falling is into the wide, wide lap of great belonging. Such a belonging. Without limit, yet intimate. We can't see it as in seeing an object, but there's a deep sense of recognition. Like coming home as a child, if your childhood was at ease. Coming home to your own home. Maybe after an afternoon of play, and knowing it's your home. You belong. Your native ground. So settled. A few lines earlier in his Ginjo Koan, Dogen puts this threefold turning: self, forgetting, whole world, in just 2 lines. To carry the self forward and illuminate myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and illuminate the self is awakening. I find myself saying, wherever you turn your own face, you are that. And Others, much, much deeper and clearer, say this too. That thou art. I am that. But it can be misleading. There is this sense when you sit that the whole world is sitting. It's just everything settling down. But more precise would be to say the whole world is sitting you. It is you. Exactly as you are. Nothing excluded. Without the flaw, there is no jewel. Nothing excluded, nothing lacking. Nothing at all. The 18th century Japanese Zen master Hakuen has a teaching. What is real Zen? He asks. It's to make everything, coughing, swallowing, waving your arms, motion, stillness, words, action, the evil and the good, prosperity and shame, gain and loss, right and wrong, into one single koan. One single treasure. Call it mu, call it you, call it happy, sad, fear, shame, surprise, joy. Call it tired from long listening. Just this, a living koan, inviting us to practice. Thank you so much for this shared practice.